Most of you students are familiar with Mark Twain's novels, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. You may not be as familiar with one of his essays, A Literary Nightmare. Will the audience please listen to the following verses and see if you can discover anything harmful in them? Conductor, when you receive a fare, punch in the presence of the passenger. A blue trip slip for an 8-cent fare, a buff trip slip for a 6-cent fare, a pink trip slip for a 3-cent fare. Punch in the presence of the passenger. Punch, brothers, punch with care. Punch in the presence of the passenger. I came across these jingling rhymes in a newspaper a little while ago and read them over, a couple of times. They took instant and entire possession of me. All through breakfast, they went waltzing through my brain, until at last, when I'd rolled up my napkin, I could not tell whether I'd eaten anything or not. I had carefully laid out my day's work the day before, a thrilling tragedy in the novel which I am writing. I went to my den to begin my deed of blood. I took up my pen, but all I could get it to say was, punch in the presence of the passenger. My head kept humming, a blue trip slip for an 8-cent fare, a buff trip slip for a 6-cent fare, and so on, without peace or respite. 2 days later, I arose a tottering wreck, and I went forth to fulfill an engagement with a valued old friend, the Reverend Mr. Brown. My friend stared at me. Mark, are you sick? I've never seen a man look so pale and worn and, absent-minded. Say something, do. Punch, brothers, punch with care. Punch in the presence of the passenger. I don't seem to get your drift, Mark. There doesn't seem to be any relevancy in what you've said, and yet, there's something so pathetic in the way that you say them. How is it they go again? I said the lines one more time. Then my friend's face lighted with interest. Oh, what a captivating jingle it is. Almost like music. Flows along so nicely. You know, I think I've caught the rhymes myself. Say them just once more, and then I'll have them sure. And so I repeated the lines for my friend. He made one little mistake, which I corrected, and the next time he got them right. Now a great burden seemed to tumble from off my shoulders, and that torturing jingle departed out of my brain, and a blessed sense of peace descended upon me. Then my freed tongue found blessed speech again, and the pent-up talk of many a weary hour began to gush and flow. As I wrung my friend's hand at parting, I said, "Haven't we had a royal good time?" But you haven't said anything for 2 hours now. Come, out with something. Punch, brothers, punch with care. Punch in the presence of the passenger. Oh, a pang shot through me as I said to myself, poor fellow, he's got it now. Well, I did not see Mr. Brown for about 2 or 3 days after that. And then on a Tuesday evening, he staggered into my presence and sank dejectedly into a seat. He was pale, worn. He was a wreck.
Oh, Mark, it was a ruinous investment that I made in those heartless rhymes.
Since I saw you last, they have suffered the torments of the lost. Tuesday evening, I received a sudden call by telegraph, and I took the night train to Boston. Well, the occasion was the death of a valued old friend who had requested that I should preach his funeral sermon. Well, I set myself in the car, and I set myself to framing the discourse. But when those train wheels started there, clack, 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 and right away those odious rhymes fitted themselves to that accompaniment. Clack, clack, a blue trip slip, clack, clack, for an 8-cent fare, clack, clack, a buff trip slip, clack, clack, for a 6-cent fare, and so on, and punch in the presence of the passenger. Sleep? Oh, not a single wink. I was almost a lunatic when I reached Boston. Oh, and don't ask me about the funeral. I did the very best that I could, but every single solitary individual sentence was meshed and tangled, woven in and out with punch, brothers, punch with care, punch in the presence of the passenger. And the most distressing thing was, my delivery dropped into the undulating rhythm of those pulsing rhymes. I could actually catch absent-minded people nodding in time to the swing of it with their stupid heads. And before I was finished, that entire assemblage were placidly bobbing their heads in solemn unison, mourners, undertaker, and all. When I finished, I fled to the anteroom in a state bordering on frenzy. Oh, there, it's coming on me again. A blue trip slip for an 8-cent fare. Mark, you do not offer me any hope. Oh, I fear that my tongue is doomed to wag forever to the jigger of that remorseless jingle. A buff trip slip for a 6-cent fare. A pink trip slip for a 9-cent. And thus, murmuring faint and fainter, my friend slept into a peaceful trance and forgot his sufferings in a peaceful respite. Well, how did I finally save him from the asylum? Well, I took him to a neighboring university, and there I made him discharge the burden of those persecuting rhymes into the eager ears of the poor, unthinking students. How is it with them now? Well, the result is too sad to tell. But why do I tell you this, audience? It is for a worthy, yea, even a noble purpose. It is to warn you, if you come across these merciless rhymes, avoid them. Avoid them as you would a pestilence.